There's nothing on screen right now quite like Outlander. The show itself has been around for 3 years at this point, yet fans can't seem to get enough of this time travel period masterpiece. The fact that each season somehow gets more intricate and complicated is just a bonus. But are there things about the show that even the fans don't know? Better yet, details about the show are so crazy that even fans have a hard time believing them. So let's take a look and dive right into the video. First up, inspired by Doctor Who? Yes, you heard that right. Diana Gabaldon's famous Outlander novels were actually a product of watching Doctor Who, at least to some extent. In an episode with the Second Doctor, played by Patrick Troughton, Gabaldon saw Fraser Hines play the Doctor's companion. Hines played a character called Jamie McCrimmon, a Scottish Highlander from the 18th century. Can you see where we're going with this? In a report by the Daily Record, Gabaldon claimed that she, at the time, thought that writing a historical novel might be the easiest kind of book to write for practice after watching that particular episode. She said that the character of Jamie struck her with his attitude and male gallantry, and that, and we quote, she thought the kilt was rather fetching. This is why she decided to set the book in Scotland in the 18th century. At the time, she had no knowledge of what the plot of the novel might have been, nor anything else relevant. She said she just had this notion of a man in a kilt. She called her hero Jamie as well, but that and his Scottish heritage is supposedly where the similarities stop. Years later, the moment came full circle when Hines himself appeared in Outlander as Sir Fletcher, the warden of the jail where Jamie is imprisoned in the first season, the Wentworth prison. Next, Outlander wasn't necessarily going to be a series. Gabaldon's novels have been in the running to be adapted for quite a while now. This, of course, is not all that surprising given the popularity of the book and the, frankly, genius plot. In 2010, multiple actors were supposedly in line to play our favorite nurse, Claire Randall, in a movie adaptation of Outlander. However, one name kept popping up more than almost any other, and it may surprise you to learn who it was. Katherine Hagel, the former Grey's Anatomy actress, was actually tipped to take the role. She even might have confirmed the casting rumors in an interview around the time for the New York Times. This is particularly interesting because it implies that Hagel may have been very nearly confirmed, if not completely employed, to play the role of Claire Fraser. Ironically enough, Katrina Balfe was cast as Claire a mere few weeks before filming started. Moore explained the funny irony about him claiming that they would very easily be able to find an actress to play Claire, and that casting Jamie would be the difficult part back when calls first began. Of course, the opposite turned out to be true. Now, why Gaelic isn't translated on the show? If you've been a fan for any amount of time now, we're sure you may have noticed that Scottish characters on the show, in especially intense moments, use the Gaelic language to amp up the tensions, or perhaps romanticize a moment. What we mean is that Gaelic is often used by the show as an intimate language, especially after season 1, and is used at very specific moments in the show so that it stands out. One example that springs to mind is when Claire wrote a letter to Jamie in her broken Gaelic when she was captured by the Redcoats. But in season 1, we see Claire witnessing almost everyone around her speaking in a language she's very unfamiliar with. This very obviously creates a spectacularly stressful environment for her, and for us as the viewers. This, as it turns out, is very intentional. Producer Ronald Moore apparently wanted the audiences watching the show to feel just as clueless as Claire did in those first few episodes when she was unable to understand the Scottish characters around her. Next, America is also Scotland. The first season of the hyper-popular time-traveling extravaganza that is Outlander took place in the Scottish Highlands. The visuals of the first few seasons that take place in the Highlands are credited to be gorgeous for that very reason. But the Highlands also served the plot of the show when Jamie and Claire were still young and finding places to hide from their antagonists. By the 4th season, however, both Claire and Jamie have found their way back to each other and to the British colonies in America. The sets are as realistic as they can be, and the difference in setting and tone is obvious. However, it may interest you to learn that what we, as viewers, are witnessing as America being on screen is so because there were very great pains taken to make sure it comes across that way. The filming of the 4th season, yes, even the parts in America, was done in Scotland. This is mainly because it was just more convenient to film in Scotland. Plus, the scenery in Scotland matched that of Eastern USA. Executive producer Matt Roberts explained that they have their whole crew and studio set up in Scotland, so it was better and just easier to remain there to film the 4th season and onwards. He claimed that Scotland plays for North Carolina quite well. He had the proof to back up his claims as well. Apparently, he posts a picture and asks his fans where he is, and more often than not, both his fans from North Carolina and Scotland get the two confused. Next, Jamie Fraser's back. One of the most poignant scenes in the very first season was when audiences were made to witness Jamie's scarred back. The reason he was flogged as a mere teenager had been branded on his skin as a juxtaposition of both honor and shame. It has been a huge part of his personality since, given that one moment defined his life's trajectory. But we're not here to talk about that, depressing as it is. We're going to be talking about the absolutely insane process that is applying these marks and scars every shoot day, where he's half naked, and given the nature of the show, apparently, the scars have to be meticulously applied to actor Sam Hugin's skin, specifically his back, for hours, every time he's going to be in a scene topless. For the very first season though, Hugin's back was sculpted by an artist. Then the scars were applied on top using makeup. As anyone who has watched even a tiny bit of the show will tell you, the constant trauma that the main characters of this show deal with means that over the years, Jamie's back has accumulated even more scars. It doesn't help that Jamie is a character prone to getting wounded on a regular basis. Up next, putting the scars on. In 2017, makeup designer for the show, Annie McEwen, told Digital Spy that the team has to weather Sam to look like he's been outside. She also mentioned that they'd been consciously trying to age Jamie. Another fun thing she mentioned was Jamie's size. Since Jamie is a tall and broad man with more muscles than there are beaches in the world, presumably there is understandably a large area to cover. She compared it to painting the fourth bridge, the act of putting the scars on him and making them look aged. She said that the process is constant, and just when they've finished one bit, they have to start all over again. And Brianna didn't meet her Aunt Jenny. When Brianna travels back through the stones to warn her parents of their imminent death, she stops on her way to Lallybrook. Now, if we take a step back and talk about the novels for a moment, in the fourth book in the Outlander series, Drums of Autumn, Brianna does pretty much the same thing as we see her doing in the TV series, and one of her first stops is Lallybrook. This, of course, is understandable since it was home to Jamie for the longest time. Also, Jenny, his sister, and her husband Ian. In the book, Brianna is able to meet and talk to both her uncle and aunt. But as you may have noticed, Jenny was very obviously missing from the moment in the adaptation of the scene from the books. In the show, Brianna is only able to meet with Ian, played by Stephen Cree, who greets her. Laura Donnelly, who plays Jenny in Outlander, was absent for a very good reason though. At the very same time as the filming of Outlander, she was performing on stage in The Ferryman. Donnelly actually managed to snag an Olivier Award for Best Actress in the production, so it all seemingly worked out for the best. Jenny's absence in the show is explained by Ian. He says that she's away attending the birth of their latest grandchild, a likely scenario. And that is all for this video. What do you think of these crazy facts? And do you have any of your own to share? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed watching the video, be sure to leave a like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications by pressing the bell icon to get notified every time we post a new video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.